One of the ways is I try to find a connection with them right away that's not necessarily related to math. So I will start almost every class period with, does anybody have anything that they're happy about or anything that you're celebrating this week? Because that gives us things to talk about. And I think that we talk about small talk as being like meaningless and kind of trite, but I don't think it is. I think that small talk is a great way to connect with students. So if they say, oh, I just saw this really great movie over the weekend, I want to know what it is and I want to know what they thought about it. We talk about music. They write me song recommendations a lot of times, or we'll talk about TV shows. But I think that makes them feel comfortable, and that helps establish that trust early on. And then I think there's a lot to be said for meaning what you say. So I have a line in my syllabus that says your mental, physical, and emotional well-being is important to me. And it's one thing to say that, it's another thing to mean it and to have practices that show that I mean it. And so if I say that their emotional well-being is important to me and they have a really rough weekend, and they ask if they can have extra time on an assignment, if I say no, then I'm communicating that their emotional well-being isn't as important to me. It's also hard because we're so busy as professors, right? We carry so much and we have so much work to do. And I can't remember the last day when I had everything on my to-do list checked off. It just is a running to-do list that follows me for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so there's also that level of prioritizing that you have to do as an instructor, where, this student wrote something in a name tent that said they need some help on this type of assignment, and I need to follow up with that student, and it needs to go at the top of my priority list to make sure that I'm going to get back to them and know that I have their backs despite everything else that I have going on. So I think that's part of it. See them for who they are and what they're interested in beyond math education. And make time for that in our conversations, and then also use that to connect with them, and also to support what they're doing in terms of the content in the course. Children especially need to know that you care about them and all facets of them. Otherwise, they're not going to feel safe or accepted in your classroom. And you spend a lot of time, when you're an elementary school teacher, you spend hours a day with these children, and they need to know that they feel safe emotionally with you. And if they don't, they're not going to learn as much. I mean, brain research just shows us that they're not going to learn as much. And so I don't see my students for hours every day, like I saw my elementary school students, but I can model for them that the type of attitude towards them that I hope they have towards their future students. I think sometimes about how, I was just telling a student the other day, I want to be the little person that sits on their shoulder, like in the old school cartoons with the devils and the angel, I want to be the little teacher that sits on their shoulder in the future when they have a critical interaction with a student. I want them to remember how I handled a critical reaction with them, or how I want them to remember how I made them feel and how I set up my classroom environment and my courses to make them feel, so that they will strive to do the same thing for their students to feel that way with them.